What's going on YouTube? So pickup trucks have always been a handful to drive, especially in the city.
And that is why Ford brought back a true compact pickup with this Maverick.
We're here today with the latest 2023 version to see what Ford has done to make this even better. Let's kick things off here under the hood. Now, these powertrain selections may not have you feeling like Maverick from Top Gun, but they are more than adequate. And that's because optional on all three trim levels is this 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. This makes 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. And then of course you have the standard hybrid system as well.
Power is going to be routed to the ground via an 8-speed automatic transmission. You have the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. For this 2-liter all-wheel drive, we're sitting at 24 mpg combined, but you can get up to 37 mpg combined with the hybrid model.
Now we're going to go out on a test drive later on in the video. We're going to get things like our signature sound level reading, show you the performance of this 2-liter turbocharged model. But first we're going to close up the hood and take a look at the exterior of this compact pickup truck. Now when it comes to the exterior design, Ford went with a more conservative and traditional look than the only other compact pickup truck on the US market, and that would be the Hyundai Santa Cruz. Definitely has a more traditional look than that, nice and squared off, and you'll see some elements even from the Ranger and F-150. Let's talk about the grille first off. As you can see, kind of a square shape to this. You're going to have some slightly different finishes depending on the trim levels. Here with the Lariat, we're going to have a silver finish for this gray bar that extends through the grille and into the headlight unit. Now let's talk about the headlights. So Ford is actually including standard LED headlights on all models despite the affordable base price. These are reflector LEDs down here at the bottom. If you choose the Lariat model, you get the signature daytime running light that runs across the top, and there's your turn signal indicator right there in the middle. Fog lights are not available on any trim. Now of course the meaning of compact is small, so this is going to be a small pickup truck, but we do have some of the bigger elements from the F-150 and Ranger kind of styled into the rear end of this Maverick.
Yeah, because you have the Maverick text going all the way across the back. I really like the way that looks. That traditional truck design, I think, is a really important thing about this Maverick. Now, Drew's going ahead and hopping inside to see if all of the elements of our taillights are LED. We have an incandescent brake light, incandescent reverse light, as well as incandescent turn signal indicator. So none of the elements are LED. I'm not at all really surprised by that, and that's acceptable for this price point, so I don't really complain too much about that at all. Now dropping down to the lower area, this is something that I will complain about. The license plate is over here off to the side. It's not in the center. That kind of drives me nuts. If I owned one of these, I think I'd just take the license plate off and the police would have to come find me, because that would drive me insane. But as far as other things that I want to talk about, 2,000 pounds is your tow rating for all Maverick models. Unless you have the 2-liter turbo with the tow package, that increases it up to 4,000 pounds, and you're not going to have exposed exhaust outlets on any Maverick. Now this is a truck after all, so let's go ahead and dive into the bed. Now, I do want to point out the tailgate is not dampened, but when I go to the gym, you can just sit up and lift this tailgate up and down all night long. Now, as far as the bed itself is concerned back here, 4.5 foot is our measurement. So not quite as big as like a full-size F-150 as you would expect. This is just a Maverick. It's a compact pickup truck, but still good enough to fit a lot of different things back here. It's going to be larger than the Hyundai Santa Cruz, and I want to get a measurement diagonally across here. We're looking at exactly 69 inches of space, which is a very good amount as far as on our scale. You could fit a full-size adult bicycle fully assembled diagonally, which is very useful. And as far as other things are concerned back here, we do have a household style outlet that's included in the Lariat luxury package, so that can power some small tools for all of your work needs. You can also get a bed liner. There's also available LED lighting Do be aware though, there's not any underfloor storage. Additionally, we have a bottle opener on the side, and you can also adjust the height of this tailgate. So if you have a long piece of wood or something back here, you can actually extend the length of the bed so it's not going to fall out, which is really quite nice.
Those of you who like steelies will love the base steel wheels that you get on the base trim level of this Maverick. You do have 17-inch alloys as well in the middle trim level, and this top end Lariat will come with 18-inch alloy wheels. I definitely like the gloss black finish we have here, which contrasts nicely with the Area 51 paint that we have on the exterior. I think this though will be a good spot to go ahead and talk a little bit about the new trimmer package. So this is something that Ford added for 2023, and it adds some off-road capability to this Maverick. So it's going to give you 17-inch alloy wheels. It's going to give you all-terrain tires. It's also going to give you a off-road tuned suspension, advanced all-wheel drive system, and a lot of different graphics and decals throughout the rest of the exterior. So it's a pretty nice package that they have available for 2023. Rising up to our mirrors, they are going to be body colored on just this Lariat trim level, and you do have both available heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now at the side of the Maverick, this is going to be the only way you can get it with the crew cab 4-door setup and the 4.5-foot bed that I mentioned earlier. That makes the overall length 199.7 inches long, which is about 5 inches longer than the Santa Cruz. Now, for those of you who know a lot about trucks, obviously you'll know that this is a unibody truck. It's based on the Ford Escape and Bronco Sport, so you're actually not going to have the tailgate separation right here. Now, I do also want to talk about your safety systems for the Maverick. You're going to have 2 out of your 4 active safety features as standard on every single model. Now, you do have standard regular cruise control. Through the Copilot 360 package, you add lane keeping assist, and through the Lariat Luxury package, which we do have on this model, you further add adaptive cruise control. But guys, that's going to wrap up the Maverick on the outside. And if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Let's go ahead and move on to the interior. The Lariat trim level does include smart entry and gives you Ford's typical key fob. That means getting inside is as simple as just reaching behind the handle that's going to unlock the door. Now take a look inside of this cabin. As you can see, it's a very functional space. It does share some similarities to things like the Bronco Sport, but before we dive into all of the details, we got to talk about interior color and material choices first. So you're going to have cloth seating on XL and XLT trim levels, as you'd expect for an affordable vehicle. When you go for the Lariat though, that's where you get the Active X leatherette seating. This is a very nice looking seat. As you can see, we've got a two-tone finish here, so the interior has brown and navy accents. Very unique, and I think really kind of classes up this cabin experience overall. Now the seats themselves are going to be 8-way power adjusting here on the Lariat trim level, and we'll go ahead and climb inside. And now that we're inside, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Now, one thing I'm just really happy to report overall is that, you know, even though this is an affordable vehicle, and yes, it does use, you know, more affordable materials, they've done a lot with the textures and designs to not make it feel like a cheap vehicle. So over here on our door trim, we do have a leatherette padding for this section that your arm's going to rest on. We have, again, like I said, a lot of different textures going on. So across the top here, this is hard touch with a nice texture. Down here, we actually have a brown piece, and then this in the center also has a totally different texture and different color. As we go to the upper dashboard, all this will be hard touch plastic, nicely textured. We've got another colored accent running through there, and this nice textured piece of silver trim through the middle. And then down below, we have a nice solid piece of plastic down here. Push button start is actually going to be located over here, so just put your foot on the brake and press it to start up. And now let's go into a first-person perspective for a little bit of a closer look at everything. First up, we have our gauge cluster. So with the top-end Lariat model, you're going to sub in a 4.2-inch multi-function display for a 7-inch multi-function display. As you can see, this does contain all the expected kinds of information. You've got your menus and stuff that you can cycle between. And you do have your traditional analog gauges as well. Then pulling back to the steering wheel, typical Ford design, nicely leather wrapped on this top end Lariat model. You have some piano black accenting. The wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping, and then heating is going to be included in the luxury package, which can be added to the Lariat like we have today. The button to control that's right over there on the climate controls. But let's talk about interior storage. This is one of my favorite parts about this Maverick because they've done a lot with this. It's really a versatile space. So inner center console here, we got plenty of space, nice and deep. We do have a felt lining down at the bottom. Addie's Pizza, I'm not really sure what that is, but they sent some coupons. Let's see if it can store in there, and it does. No problem whatsoever. We have a nice storage bin right there, little storage area, 2 cup holders, and then you've got this really nice console. I like this a lot. Wireless phone charging is available on the Lariat trim level. You also have these 2 additional storage points. I think this one on this side is for a cell phone because it actually, yeah, there it goes. It props up your phone so you can see your notifications come in for better or for worse. And you've got 2 USBs above that. Now as far as our shifter, this is the typical Ford electronic rotary shifter. Just twist over for drive. There are no paddle shifters on the steering wheel for manual shifting. And when you go into reverse, you will find a standard backup camera. As you can see, we do have active trajectory, and we also have rear parking sensors on this Lariat model. Back behind that, you have your electronic parking brake. You also have a few additional buttons located up here for things like turning on and off your auto start stop. This here is going to be for your drive mode, so you do have several different drive modes that you can choose between, including a tow haul, slippery conditions, off-roading. As you can see, lots and lots of different functions, as a matter of fact. You also have a power rear window. Up above that, we have our climate controls. Thankfully, a nice traditional style setup here, so you just twist the knob to adjust your temperature. This is a dual zone automatic climate control setup here on the Lariat trim level. The other 2 models do have a manual setup. We also have 3-stage heated seats. That's in the Lariat luxury package, and you can also option that onto the XLT via its luxury package. And then up above that, you have physical audio controls as well. Now you have a standard 6-speaker sound system, or the Lariat luxury model comes with an 8-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system. That's what we have, and we'll give it a sample. Yeah, overall, this is a great sounding sound system. Certainly fills up this cabin well and is more than what you expect for this price point. Okay, let's talk about the display next. So this is a standard 8-inch display. It's going to be on every single version of the Maverick. As you can see, you've got a little bit of a storage area next to it. And then they keep kind of a smaller looking display versus many of their other models in the lineup. Don't really mind though, it definitely has all the functionality you expect. This is going to be Sync 3, not the latest Sync 4. But here at the Lariat, we do have the built-in navigation system. You also have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support. Above the display is another storage area. You've got a ton of storage in here, guys. And then you have a manual dimming mirror. We have some LED lighting, it looks like, and then we actually do have a sunroof. This is optional here on the Lariat model.
Now you might expect a compact pickup truck to have a very compact rear seat. I know I was kind of expecting that. This is actually our first time in the Maverick, and I was expecting it to be really, really small and cramped and terrible, honestly. But I'm happy to report that none of those things are true in the rear seat area of this Maverick. So as far as the rear legroom is concerned, we're sitting at 35.9 inches of legroom, 39.6 inches of headroom. So those figures actually place it as really just as large as some of the larger mid-sized trucks like the Chevy Colorado, the Toyota Tacoma. You're really going to have a lot of space back here, a ton of headroom. I mean, you could be a very good sized adult and fit back here perfectly fine. Also, my seat My feet can slide easily up underneath the seat, and as far as knee space with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm 5'9", we're still sitting at about 5 inches of space, which is perfectly adequate. Now, let's also talk about some of the features that you're going to get in the Maverick. So here in the center, we do have USB ports for the higher end models. We have a Type A, a Type C. We also have a household style outlet, which is a feature I was not expecting to find. If we fold down the center armrest, we have 2 cup holders inside of here. Let's go ahead and turn to our door trim. On the door trim, as you would expect, it's going to be made of mostly hard touch materials, but it does have that nice texture going on there. We have a leather armrest portion, and then in terms of the door storage, we have a ton of it. As you can see, there's a water bottle right there. You also have 2 more bins in front of that, so you're going to be able to fit whatever you need in the door trim of this Maverick. And it is a truck after all, so you do want to have a little bit more usability in the rear seats if you just want to haul something, and the Maverick does give you that. If you locate the straps right there, the rear seats will actually fold up in one continuous piece. And check this out, look how deep these bins are. These are probably 6 to 10 inches deep, and it goes all the way across the entire floor. So I really like that the Maverick gives you that amount of usability. You also do have the option to fold the seat backs down if you want to do that. I'm not really sure why you would, but you do have that option, which is nice. Well, guys, here we are in the 2023 Ford Maverick. We're very excited to take this truck out on the road and see what it's capable of. We'll be talking about a lot of different things in this test drive, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. Very nice.
And there's 60 miles per hour. Now, even if we didn't tell you earlier, you would probably realize that we have the 2-liter turbocharged model on board today. This 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine makes 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, and it is optional on all 3 of the trim levels for those of you who want a little bit more power. Of course, the standard hybrid system, that is kind of the big news, I think, with the Maverick, because you have all that efficiency on board with that really affordable price tag.
Yeah, and that's going to be a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder. Makes 191 horsepower, and that is the standard engine option on every single Maverick model. So that's the really cool thing about this truck, is that you're getting the hybrid standard. You're not paying any extra for that. You automatically get the really efficient powertrain option, and then if you really want to upgrade to the more powerful choice, you can do so with this 2-liter model, and like Drew said, on all of the trim levels. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're picking between the different engines is that the hybrid model is front-wheel drive only, and the 2-liter model is standard front-wheel drive with optional all-wheel drive, which is what we have today.
I just went around a little bit of a corner there, and I think I want to talk a little bit about, just your overall handling characteristics. This is a unibody, and that does mean it handles pretty much like a Ford Escape, a Bronco Sport, the things that it shares a foundation with, and that's certainly a good thing. If you prefer that more maneuverable feel versus something like a Tacoma or a Ranger, or even larger like an F-150, this is definitely going to satisfy that need. As far as with this 2-liter model, you've got an 8-speed automatic transmission. If you choose the hybrid model, that will come with a ECVT instead. Auto start stop is nice and smooth.
And I do also want to talk about your fuel economy. Of course, we've been talking a lot about the hybrid offering that they have on this Maverick, as well as the 2-liter. So if you're curious as to the fuel economy figures, they are going to be very impressive. Now, this one is the worst one of the bunch. It's the 2-liter with all-wheel drive. That's going to be rated at 22, 28, 24 miles a gallon combined. Now, it is worth noting that new trimmer model, that does get worse fuel economy. That goes down to 21 mpg, so that's just a little side note. If you go for the 2-liter front drive, that's 25 miles a gallon combined. But the big news, the hybrid, the one that's standard on all the Mavericks, that is 40 city, 33 highway, 37 miles a gallon combined. So yeah, you're getting 37 mpgs out of a pickup truck. So that is incredibly good fuel economy. Very, very impressed with that. Alrighty, and one of the things we like to do in every Car Confections review is get a sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and get into that. We've settled in at 57.6 decibels. And as far as how that rates as compared to some of the other small pickup trucks out there, that is one of the quietest pickup trucks that we've tested out. The Chevy Colorado Trail Boss and the GMC Canyon Denali are pretty much the only two that outrank this Ford Maverick, which is very impressive. And of course, if you want a full list and really for all segments of vehicles, sound level readings, we do have that posted on our website, carconfections.com, so you can go check that out and rank all of your favorite vehicles and see where they fall on our 55 mile an hour sound test. Now, I do also want to talk about the ride quality now that we're just cruising down this strip of road here. We do have really solid ride quality with this Maverick, as you would expect out of a unibody truck. It does share its bones with the Ford Escape and the Bronco. You actually do have impressive ride quality. When you hit a bump, it does a very good job of soaking it up. I will say, though, we actually just reviewed a Ford Escape prior to reviewing this Maverick. The Escape has a little bit softer of a ride. This is going to have a little bit more intrusion into the cabin, but it's definitely not bad at all. I actually think that this rides better than a lot of mid-sized trucks ride.
For sure. You don't have like as much micro vibrations that kind of just go into the cabin. It's really smooths that type of stuff out completely.
I also do want us to talk about our airball and slam dunk. Drew, will you kick us off with the slam dunk for this Maverick?
I think any conversation about the Maverick has to really revolve around the price tag, and that's the slam dunk for today because it's just such a good deal. Everything these days just costs so much. Mid-size trucks cost what full-size trucks used to, and having this new entry point that's genuinely affordable for most people, I think really makes this Maverick stand out.
Yeah, and as far as our airball is concerned, we really struggled to come up with one because this is a very solid all-around product from Ford. But one of the things that I don't really like is this screen setup right here. Having the hole here on the side, it just looks a little cheap. Especially we have the fully loaded model. Of course, I understand you can't put a giant screen in all of them for that price tag, but it just looks a little weird to have this hole here. Maybe if they just centered the screen, I would like it a little bit better, but it's weird to have a 12-inch footprint here and only have 8 inches of screen real estate. And the last thing we want to talk about is the warranty. You have Ford Signature Warranty, which is 3-year 36,000 miles for your basic, 5-year 60,000 miles for your powertrain warranty. There is no complimentary maintenance. Now, the best part about the Maverick is that this is actually an affordable truck. And by I mean actually affordable, I mean really affordable. We're starting at $22,595 for an XL model, $24,855 for XLT, $28,355 for a Lariat. That is genuinely affordable, guys. This is like the same price as a base Corolla on the base end, and it really only goes up to about $28,000 for the fully loaded Lariat. Now, there are, of course, options if you want to add those on. We do have options on this Lariat, so this is pretty much a fully loaded Maverick with the 2-liter engine, so that's an option. We're looking at $38,260 plus with the $1,595 destination charge added in, so fully loaded up, well under $40,000, and a lot of the Mavericks are going to be a lot more affordable than that if you choose the hybrid powertrain and are a little less light or less optioned. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on this in-depth review of the 2023 Ford Maverick Lariat. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support because it makes this all possible. Also, if you haven't had the chance to check out our merch store as well as our all new website, please go ahead and do that. Additionally, we have a TikTok and Instagram page that has other forms of content. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.